Marcus Whitfield stood by the tall windows of his office on the 40th floor. The city looked small from up there. Cars moved like tiny ants on the streets below. People walked around, going about their daily lives. Marcus owned buildings in that city. He owned companies. He had more money than most people could count. But right now, none of that mattered. His phone buzzed on the desk. Marcus looked at the screen. It was another call from Danny's school. He let it go to voicemail. He already knew what they would say. Danny was having problems again. Danny was not talking to other kids. Danny was hiding in the bathroom during lunch. Danny was afraid. Marcus closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. 2 years ago, his life was different. He had a wife named Linda. She was beautiful and kind. She made their house feel like a home. She made Danny laugh every day. But then Linda got sick. The doctors tried everything. Marcus spent millions on the best treatments. None of it worked. Linda died on a cold Tuesday morning in March. Since then, Danny had changed. The happy 8-year-old boy who used to run around the house was gone. In his place was a quiet child who barely spoke above a whisper. Danny used to love soccer and drawing. Now he spent most of his time alone in his room. He would not play with other kids. He was afraid of everything. Marcus tried to help. He hired the best doctors in the country. He took Danny to therapists who cost more per hour than most people made in a week. He bought Danny every toy he asked for. He changed schools 3 times looking for the right place. Nothing worked. If anything, Danny seemed to get worse. The intercom on Marcus's desk buzzed. His assistant's voice came through. "Mr. Whitfield, Danny's school is online too. They say it's important." Marcus sighed. He picked up the phone. "This is Marcus Whitfield." "Mr. Whitfield, this is Mrs. Patterson, Danny's teacher. I'm afraid we need to talk. Danny had another difficult day today." Marcus sat down in his leather chair. "What happened?" "Danny would not come out of the supply closet during art class. He said the other children were too loud. It took me 30 minutes to convince him to come out. Then during lunch he would not eat. He just sat in the corner by himself. Mr. Whitfield, I think Danny needs more help than we can give him here." Marcus felt his heart sink. This was the 3rd school to tell him the same thing. "What are you suggesting?" "There's a special program for children with severe anxiety. It's very good, but it's not a regular school. The children there have similar problems. I think Danny might feel more comfortable." Marcus looked out the window again. He thought about Danny sitting alone in the corner. His son was only 8 years old. 8-year-olds should be playing and laughing. They should be making friends and getting dirty on the playground. They should not be hiding in supply closets because the world felt too scary. "I'll think about it," Marcus said. "Thank you for calling." Marcus hung up the phone and put his head in his hands. He had built a business empire worth billions of dollars. He could buy almost anything in the world. But he could not fix his son. He could not take away Danny's fear. He could not bring back the happy boy who used to climb on his lap and tell him about his day. The worst part was that Marcus felt like he was failing as a father. When Linda was alive, she handled most of the parenting. She knew what to say when Danny was upset. She knew how to make him smile. Marcus was always working. He told himself he was providing for his family. But now he wondered if he had missed too much time with Danny when it mattered. Marcus remembered the last time he tried to have a real conversation with his son. It was 3 days ago. He found Danny in his room, sitting on the floor with his toy airplane. It was the same airplane Linda had bought him for his 6th birthday. Danny loved that plane. He used to fly it around the house making airplane noises and pretending to be a pilot. "What are you doing, buddy?" Marcus had asked. Danny looked up with his big brown eyes. They were Linda's eyes. "Just playing," he whispered. Marcus sat down on the floor next to him. The carpet was soft and expensive, but it felt strange to sit on it. Marcus was used to sitting in boardrooms and conference halls. "Can I play with you?" Danny nodded but did not say anything. He handed Marcus a small toy car. They played in silence for a few minutes. Marcus wanted to ask Danny about school. He wanted to ask how Danny was feeling, but every time he started to speak, the words felt wrong. He did not know how to talk to his own son. Finally, Marcus tried. "Danny, are you happy?" Danny stopped playing with his airplane. He looked at his father with those big eyes. "I miss Mommy," he said in a voice so quiet Marcus could barely hear it. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "I miss her too, buddy. So much." "Is she coming back?" Danny asked. Marcus had to look away. They had talked about this before. Danny knew his mother was dead, but sometimes he still asked if she was coming back. "No, Danny. Mommy can't come back, but she loves you very much. She's watching over you." Danny nodded and went back to playing with his airplane. But Marcus could see tears in his son's eyes. Marcus wanted to hug him. He wanted to make everything better, but he did not know how. Now, sitting in his office, Marcus thought about that conversation. He thought about all the conversations they should have had but didn't. He thought about all the times he chose work over family time. He had told himself he was building something for Danny's future. But what good was money if his son was too afraid to enjoy life? Marcus's phone rang again. This time it was his business partner, James. "Marcus, we need to talk about the Henderson deal. They want to meet tomorrow." "Reschedule it," Marcus said without thinking. "What?" "Marcus, this is a $50 million deal. We've been working on it for months." Marcus looked at a photo on his desk. It showed him, Linda, and Danny at the beach 2 summers ago. Danny was building a sand castle. Linda was laughing at something Marcus had said. They looked like a happy family. They were a happy family, before everything fell apart. "Reschedule it, James. I need to spend some time with my son." There was silence on the other end of the phone. Marcus never rescheduled important meetings. His business always came first. "Are you okay, Marcus?" "I'm fine. I just need to figure out how to help Danny." After Marcus hung up, he made a decision. He was going to leave work early. He was going to pick up Danny from school himself instead of sending the driver. Maybe they could go somewhere together. Maybe they could try to have fun. Marcus grabbed his coat and headed for the elevator. For the first time in months, he felt like he might be doing the right thing as a father. Marcus drove his black car through the city streets. He was not used to driving himself. Usually his driver took him everywhere. But today felt different. Today he wanted to do things himself. He wanted to try to connect with Danny in some way. The school parking lot was full of parents picking up their children. Marcus saw kids running to their cars, laughing and talking about their day. He wished Danny could be like that, happy and carefree. But when Danny came out of the school building, he walked slowly with his head down. His backpack looked too big for his small body. "Hi, buddy," Marcus said when Danny got in the car. "How was school today?" Danny buckled his seatbelt and looked out the window. "It was okay," he whispered. Marcus wanted to ask more questions, but he could tell Danny did not want to talk. Instead, he decided to try something different. "Want to go to the park? We could play on the swings or throw a ball around." Danny looked surprised. His father never took him to the park. "Which park?" "Any park you want. You pick." Danny thought for a moment. "There's a park near the library. It has a big playground and ducks in a pond." Marcus had never been to that park. He usually went to the expensive private clubs with perfect lawns and quiet spaces. But Danny seemed interested, so Marcus said, "Sounds perfect. Show me the way." The park Danny chose was different from what Marcus expected. It was a public park in an older part of town. The grass was not perfect, and some of the playground equipment looked worn. But there were families everywhere. Kids were playing on swings and slides. Parents sat on benches watching their children. It felt alive and real in a way Marcus was not used to. Marcus parked the car and looked around. "This is a nice park, Danny." Danny nodded and got out of the car. He walked toward the playground but stayed close to Marcus. There were other children playing, but Danny did not try to join them. He sat on a bench and watched. Marcus sat next to his son. "Do you want to go on the swings?" "Maybe in a little bit," Danny said softly. They sat together in silence for a while. Marcus watched the other families. He saw a mother pushing her toddler on a swing. He saw a father teaching his daughter how to ride a bike. Everyone seemed so natural with their children. Marcus felt like he did not know how to be a normal father. After a few minutes, Danny pulled his toy airplane out of his backpack. It was the same airplane he always carried. The red paint was starting to chip off, but Danny took good care of it. He held it up and made it fly through the air in front of him. "That's a cool airplane," Marcus said, trying to start a conversation. "Mommy bought it for me," Danny said. "She said I could be a pilot someday if I wanted." Marcus smiled. "Your mom was right. You could be anything you want to be." Danny made the airplane do a loop in the air, but then his hand slipped and the airplane fell to the ground. It rolled away from the bench toward a group of kids playing nearby. Danny looked scared. He wanted his airplane back, but he was too afraid to go get it. "I'll get it for you," Marcus started to say. But then something unexpected happened. A woman walking by saw the airplane and picked it up. She was Asian with long black hair and kind eyes. She looked to be in her 30s and was carrying a bag of books. She saw Danny sitting on the bench looking worried. "Is this your airplane?" she asked Danny with a warm smile. Danny nodded but did not say anything. He was always shy with strangers. The woman walked over and handed the airplane to Danny. "It's a beautiful plane. I bet it flies really well." "Thank you," Danny whispered, taking the airplane carefully. The woman did not walk away like most people would. Instead, she sat down on the bench next to Danny. Marcus was sitting on the other side of his son, watching this interaction with interest. "You know," the woman said to Danny, "my husband used to be a pilot. He flew big airplanes that carried people all over the world." Danny looked up at her with wide eyes. "Really? Really? He told me that flying an airplane is like being free. You can go anywhere you want. You can see the whole world from up in the sky." Danny held his airplane tighter. "I want to fly someday." "I think you would be a wonderful pilot," the woman said. "What's your name?" "Danny," he said, speaking a little louder than his usual whisper. "Hi, Danny, I'm Sarah. I work at the library right over there." She pointed to a building across the street. "Do you like to read?" Danny nodded. "I like books about airplanes and space." Sarah's face lit up. "Those are my favorite kinds of books, too. We have lots of books about flying at the library, and books about astronauts who fly even higher than airplanes." Marcus watched this conversation with amazement. Danny was actually talking to a stranger. He was making eye contact and seemed interested in what Sarah was saying. "This never happened with other people. Can you show me your airplane?" Sarah asked. Danny held up the red airplane. Sarah looked at it carefully. "This is a very special airplane. See how the wings are shaped? That helps it fly better. And the nose is pointed, which makes it go fast through the air." Danny looked at his airplane with new eyes. "I didn't know that." "There's a lot to learn about flying," Sarah said. "But that's what makes it so interesting. Every pilot has to study and practice to get better." Marcus was surprised by how much Danny was talking. Usually his son would not say more than a few words to anyone outside the family. But Sarah had a way of making Danny feel comfortable. "Do you come to this park often?" Sarah asked Danny. "This is my first time here," Danny said. "My dad brought me after school." Sarah looked at Marcus for the first time. "That's wonderful. It's a great park for families," Marcus nodded. Danny picked it. "He has good taste," Sarah smiled. "He certainly does. This park has been here for 50 years. Lots of families have made happy memories here." A teenage girl walked up to them. She had the same kind eyes as Sarah and was carrying a backpack full of books. "Mom, are you ready to go home?" "Almost, Emma," Sarah said. "I was just talking to Danny about airplanes." Emma looked at Danny and smiled. "Cool airplane. I had one like that when I was little." Danny looked at Emma shyly but did not hide behind Marcus like he usually did with older kids. "We should probably get going," Sarah said, standing up. "It was very nice to meet you, Danny, and you too," she said to Marcus. "Wait," Danny said suddenly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Danny almost never spoke up. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Sarah looked thoughtful. "I usually come to the park after work. I like to walk around the pond and feed the ducks." "Do you like ducks?" Danny nodded eagerly. "I've never fed ducks before." "Well, maybe you and your dad can come back tomorrow and we can feed them together." "I always bring extra bread." Danny looked at Marcus with hopeful eyes. "Can we, Dad, please?" Marcus was shocked. Danny was asking to come back to the park. Danny was asking to see Sarah again. This was the most excited he had seen his son in months. "Of course we can come back," Marcus said. "If that's what you want to do." Sarah smiled. Great. I usually get here around 4:30. The ducks are hungriest then. After Sarah and Emma left, Danny sat on the bench holding his airplane. But he was not sad or scared like usual. He looked thoughtful. She was nice, Danny said. Yes, she was, Marcus agreed. Very nice. Dad? Yes, buddy? Can we really come back tomorrow? Marcus looked at his son. For the first time in a long time, Danny looked hopeful about something. Absolutely. We'll come back tomorrow and feed the ducks with Sarah. Danny smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Marcus had not seen his son smile in weeks. As they drove home, Marcus thought about what had just happened. A stranger had done something in 10 minutes that expensive therapists had not been able to do in months. She had made Danny feel comfortable enough to talk and smile. She had given him something to look forward to. Marcus did not know much about Sarah, but he knew one thing for sure. Tomorrow they would be back at that park at 4:30, and maybe, just maybe, his son would smile again. The next day, Marcus left work early again. This time, he did not feel guilty about it. Danny had been talking about feeding the ducks all morning. For the first time in months, his son was excited about something. When Marcus picked Danny up from school, the boy was waiting by the front door with his backpack and his red airplane. Is it time to go to the park, Dad? It's time, Marcus said, smiling at his son's enthusiasm. They drove to the park and arrived a few minutes before 4:30. Danny looked around, searching for Sarah. Do you think she'll really come? I think she will, Marcus said. She seemed like someone who keeps her promises. They did not have to wait long. At exactly 4:30, Sarah walked into the park carrying a small bag. Emma was with her again, but this time she had a friend. Danny waved at Sarah from across the park, something he never would have done with anyone else. Hi, Danny, Sarah called back, walking over to them. Are you ready to feed some ducks? Danny nodded eagerly. Sarah opened her bag and pulled out pieces of bread. The trick is to break the bread into small pieces. Ducks like bite-sized food just like people do. They walked to the edge of the pond. There were about a dozen ducks swimming in the water. When they saw people approaching with food, they swam over quickly. Here you go, Danny, Sarah said, handing him some bread pieces. Just throw them gently into the water. Danny threw a piece of bread and 3 ducks rushed to get it. He laughed out loud. Marcus had not heard that sound in so long that it almost made him cry. They're so funny, Danny said, throwing another piece. Look how fast they swim. Sarah stood next to Danny, pointing out different types of ducks. See the one with the green head? That's a mallard. And the brown one is probably his wife. Mallard couples stay together for a whole year. Do they have babies? Danny asked. They do. In the spring, you might see little baby ducks following their parents around the pond. They're called ducklings. Marcus watched his son's face light up with wonder. Danny was asking questions and laughing. He was acting like a normal 8-year-old boy. Marcus found himself relaxing in a way he had not felt in years. After they finished feeding the ducks, Sarah suggested they sit on a bench by the pond. Emma and her friend were playing frisbee nearby, and Danny watched them with interest. Danny, Sarah said, do you like to read stories? Sometimes, Danny said, but I'm not very good at reading. I bet you're better than you think. I work at the library, remember? I help lots of kids with reading. Would you like to see some books about airplanes? Danny's eyes got wide. There are books about airplanes at the library? Lots of them. Books about how airplanes work. Books about famous pilots. Books about different kinds of flying machines. We even have books about space rockets. Can we go see them? Danny asked, looking at Marcus. Marcus was surprised. Danny never wanted to go to new places. If Sarah doesn't mind showing us. I would love to, Sarah said. The library is just across the street. We have a whole section just for children. They walked across the street to the library. Marcus had driven past this building many times but had never been inside. It was an old brick building with large windows and wooden doors. Inside it smelled like books and felt warm and welcoming. This is the children's section, Sarah said, leading them to an area with small tables and chairs. The walls were covered with colorful pictures and posters about reading. Sarah showed Danny shelves full of books about flying, space, and adventure. Danny picked up a book about the Wright brothers, the first people to fly an airplane. This looks interesting, he said, flipping through the pages. That's one of my favorites, Sarah said. It tells the story of 2 brothers who built the first airplane in their bicycle shop. They failed many times before they succeeded. They didn't give up? Danny asked. No, they didn't. Every time something went wrong, they tried to figure out how to make it better. That's what brave people do. They keep trying even when things are hard. Marcus noticed how Sarah talked to Danny. She did not talk down to him like he was just a little kid. She spoke to him like his thoughts and questions mattered. She listened carefully to everything he said. "Can I take this book home?" Danny asked. "If you have a library card, you can borrow it for 2 weeks," Sarah explained. "I don't have a library card," Danny said, looking disappointed. "That's easy to fix," Sarah said. "Your dad can help you sign up for one right now. Library cards are free." Marcus had never thought about getting Danny a library card. They had plenty of books at home. But seeing how excited his son was, Marcus said, "Let's get you a library card, buddy." Sarah helped them fill out the forms. Within a few minutes, Danny had his very own library card with his name on it. He held it carefully like it was made of gold. "Now you can borrow books anytime you want," Sarah said. "You can take up to 10 books at once." Danny picked out 3 books about airplanes and 1 about astronauts. As they were checking out, he looked up at Sarah. "Thank you for helping me." "You're very welcome." "Danny, I hope you enjoy the books." As they prepared to leave, Sarah said, "Danny, I do story time here every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I read stories out loud and kids can ask questions about the books. Would you like to come sometime?" Danny looked at Marcus hopefully. "Can I, Dad?" Marcus thought about his usual Saturday routine. He usually worked from home while Danny played by himself. "I think that sounds like a great idea." "Wonderful," Sarah said. "This Saturday I'm reading a story about a little boy who builds a rocket ship in his backyard." Danny's face lit up. "A rocket ship? Really?" "Really. And after the story we do a craft project. This week we're making paper airplanes." Danny could hardly contain his excitement. "Dad, can we please come on Saturday?" "We'll be here," Marcus promised. As they walked back to the car, Danny chattered excitedly about the books and the story time. Marcus realized this was the most his son had talked in months. Not only was Danny talking, but he was talking about things he was excited about. "Dad," Danny said as they got in the car, "Sarah is really nice." "Yes, she is," Marcus agreed. "She knows a lot about airplanes and books." "She does. And she listens to me." "Really listens?" Marcus felt a pang in his chest. When was the last time he had really listened to Danny? When was the last time he had sat down and talked to his son about things that interested him? That evening, Danny sat at the kitchen table reading his library books. Marcus made them both grilled cheese sandwiches, and they ate together while Danny told him facts about the Wright brothers. "Did you know they flew their first airplane at a place called Kitty Hawk?" Danny said. "And the first flight was only 12 seconds long." "I didn't know that," Marcus said, even though he probably had learned it in school years ago. But hearing it from Danny made it sound new and exciting. Sarah said that 12 seconds changed the whole world. Now people can fly anywhere they want. Marcus watched his son's animated face as he talked about flying and dreams and the Wright brothers. This was the child he remembered from before Linda died. This was the happy, curious boy who used to tell stories and ask a million questions. That night, as Marcus tucked Danny into bed, his son said, "Dad, today was a really good day." "I'm glad, buddy." "What made it so good?" "Feeding the ducks was fun. And getting library books. And Sarah was nice to me." "She was very nice to you." "Do you think she likes me?" Marcus smoothed Danny's hair. "I think she likes you very much. You're a very likable kid, Danny." Danny smiled and hugged his airplane. "I can't wait for Saturday." After Danny fell asleep, Marcus sat in his study thinking about the day. 2 days ago, his son barely spoke to anyone. Today, Danny had laughed, asked questions, made plans for the future, and talked excitedly about books and airplanes. What had changed? Sarah, a librarian who took the time to talk to a scared little boy about ducks and flying. A woman who listened to Danny like his words mattered. A person who saw potential in his son when everyone else saw problems. Marcus realized something important. All the money in the world could not buy what Sarah had given Danny in just 2 days. She had given him hope. She had given him something to be excited about. She had given him the feeling that he mattered. Marcus made a decision. He would rearrange his schedule to bring Danny to story time on Saturday. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because seeing his son happy was more important than any business meeting. For the first time since Linda died, Marcus felt like maybe everything was going to be okay. Saturday morning came and Danny was awake before his alarm clock. He had been looking forward to story time all week. Marcus found him in the kitchen at 7 in the morning, already dressed and eating cereal. "Story time isn't until 10 o'clock, buddy," Marcus said with a smile. "I know," Danny said, "but I want to be ready. Can we get there early so I can sit in the front?" Marcus laughed. It had been so long since he had seen Danny excited about anything. "We can get there early." They arrived at the library at 9:30. Sarah was setting up chairs in a circle for story time. When she saw Danny, her face lit up. "Danny, you came. How did you like the books you borrowed?" Danny practically bounced with excitement. "I read all of them. The Wright brothers were so smart. Did you know they studied birds to learn how wings work?" "I did know that," Sarah said. "You're a very good reader, Danny. I can tell you really understood the books." Danny beamed with pride. Marcus realized it had been months since anyone had praised his son for anything. At school, Danny was always in trouble for being too quiet or too scared. But here, Sarah celebrated his curiosity and his reading. More children started arriving for story time. Marcus was worried Danny would get scared when the other kids came, but Danny stayed in his front row seat, clutching his library books. Sarah began the story about a little boy who built a rocket ship. She used different voices for each character and made sound effects for the rocket launching. Danny listened with wide eyes, completely absorbed in the story. After the story, Sarah brought out supplies for making paper airplanes. "Now we're going to build our own flying machines," she announced. Danny raised his hand. "I brought my airplane from home. Can I show everyone how it flies?" Sarah smiled. "That would be wonderful, Danny." Danny stood up and showed the other children his red airplane. He made it fly in a circle above his head, and the other kids watched with interest. One little girl said, "That's a cool airplane." Danny actually smiled and said thank you. Marcus watched from the back of the room, amazed. His son was talking to other children. He was sharing something he loved. He was not hiding or being afraid. Sarah helped all the children make paper airplanes. She showed them how to fold the paper just right to make the planes fly well. Danny helped a younger boy who was having trouble with his folds. "Like this," Danny said gently, showing the boy how to crease the paper. "My friend Sarah taught me that the wings need to be even." Marcus noticed that Danny had called Sarah his friend. In just 1 week, this woman had gone from being a stranger to being someone Danny trusted and cared about. After story time, most of the children left with their parents. But Danny did not want to leave yet. "Can we stay a little longer, Dad? I want to look at more books." "Of course," Marcus said. Sarah was putting away the craft supplies when Danny approached her. "Sarah, can I help you clean up?" "That would be very helpful, Danny. Thank you." Danny carefully stacked the chairs while Sarah put away the paper and markers. As they worked, Danny talked about the books he had read during the week. "Sarah," Danny said as they finished cleaning up, "do you think I could really be a pilot someday?" Sarah stopped what she was doing and looked at Danny seriously. "Danny, I think you can be anything you want to be. But you know what? Being a pilot takes a lot of learning and practice. You have to study hard and never give up even when things get difficult." "Like the Wright brothers?" "Exactly like the Wright brothers. They believed in their dream, and they worked hard to make it come true." Danny nodded thoughtfully. "I want to work hard too." As they prepared to leave, Sarah walked them to the door. "Danny, I have something for you," she said, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a small book about famous pilots. "This is a special book. You can keep it. It's not from the library." Danny's eyes got wide. "Really? I can keep it forever?" "Forever," Sarah said. "It's a gift from me to you." Danny hugged the book to his chest. "Thank you, Sarah. This is the best present ever." As they walked to the car, Marcus realized he knew very little about Sarah. She had been so kind to Danny, but Marcus did not even know her last name or anything about her life. "Danny," Marcus said as they drove home. "What do you know about Sarah?" Danny thought for a moment. "She works at the library. She has a daughter named Emma. Her husband used to be a pilot, but he's not alive anymore." Marcus was surprised. Sarah was a widow, just like he was a widower. She had lost her husband, and he had lost his wife. Maybe that was part of why she understood what Danny was going through. Over the next 2 weeks, Danny and Marcus visited the library 3 more times. Each time, Sarah had new books to recommend and new stories to share. Danny was reading more than he ever had before. His vocabulary was growing, and he was asking thoughtful questions about everything. Marcus noticed other changes in Danny too. At school, his teacher said he was participating more in class. He still had trouble with groups of children, but he was not hiding in closets anymore. He was eating his lunch and talking to his teacher about books. One afternoon, when they were at the park feeding ducks again, Sarah seemed quieter than usual. Danny noticed too. "Are you okay, Sarah?" Danny asked. Sarah smiled, but Marcus could tell it was not her usual bright smile. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just a little worried about some grown-up things." "What kind of grown-up things?" Danny asked. Sarah looked at Marcus as if asking if it was okay to talk about her problems. Marcus nodded encouragingly. "Well," Sarah said carefully, "my car has been making strange noises. I think it might need to be fixed. And fixing cars can be expensive." Danny looked concerned. "Will you still be able to come to the park?" "I'll figure something out," Sarah said. "Don't worry about it, Danny." But Marcus could see that Sarah was worried. After Danny went to play on the swings, Marcus approached Sarah. "Is your car problem serious?" he asked. Sarah sighed. "The mechanic says it needs a new transmission. That costs more money than I have right now, but I'll figure it out." "I always do." Marcus wanted to help. He could easily pay for a new transmission, or even buy Sarah a new car, but something told him that offering money would not be the right thing to do. Sarah seemed like someone who was proud and independent. She had never asked for anything, even though she had given so much to Danny. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Marcus asked carefully. Sarah shook her head. "That's very kind of you, but no. This is my problem to solve." That night, Marcus could not stop thinking about Sarah's car trouble. She had done so much for Danny. She had helped his son in ways that no amount of money could buy. Now she needed help, but she was too proud to accept it. Marcus had an idea. Instead of offering charity, maybe he could find a way to help Sarah without making her feel like she owed him anything. The next day, Marcus drove to the auto repair shop where Sarah had gotten her car estimate. He talked to the owner, a man named Joe. "I want to help someone," Marcus explained, "but I need to do it in a way that doesn't hurt her pride." Joe listened as Marcus explained the situation. "I think I understand," Joe said. "What if we tell her that we have some extra bookkeeping work that needs to be done? We could pay her to organize our files and handle some paperwork. That would give her the money she needs for the car repair, but it would be payment for work, not charity." Marcus thought this was a perfect solution. "How much paperwork could you actually give her?" "Enough to justify paying her what she needs for the transmission and then some," Joe said. "My wife has been after me to get our business records organized for years. This would actually help us out too." A few days later, Joe called Sarah. He explained that his auto shop needed help organizing their paperwork and asked if she would be interested in some part-time work. Sarah was surprised but agreed to meet with him. When Sarah came to the auto shop, Joe showed her the filing system that needed to be organized. It was real work that actually needed to be done. Sarah agreed to help, and Joe promised to pay her enough to cover her car repair and a little extra. Sarah never knew that Marcus had arranged the whole thing. As far as she knew, it was just good luck that she found work right when she needed it most. A week later, Sarah's car was fixed, and she had earned enough money to feel secure for a while. When Danny saw her at the library, she seemed like her old happy self again. "My car's all better now," she told Danny, "and I got a job helping organize files for a nice man who owns an auto repair shop." Danny smiled. "That's great news, Sarah." Marcus smiled too, but he did not say anything. He was learning that sometimes the best way to help people was to find ways to let them help themselves. Sarah's pride and independence were part of what made her special. He would never want to take that away from her. But more importantly, Marcus was learning what it meant to really care about someone. For the first time since Linda died, he was thinking about someone other than himself and Danny. He was thinking about Sarah's happiness and well-being. And that felt good in a way he had almost forgotten was possible. 3 weeks later, Danny was like a different child. He laughed every day and talked about books and airplanes constantly. His teachers at school said he was making friends and participating in class activities. The change was so dramatic that Marcus sometimes wondered if he was dreaming. One evening, as they were having dinner, Danny made an announcement. "Dad, I want to invite Sarah for dinner at our house." Marcus almost choked on his food. Danny had never asked to invite anyone to their house before. "That's a great idea, buddy. Do you think she would want to come?" "I think so. She told me she likes to cook and I want to show her my airplane collection in my room. Marcus had forgotten that Danny had a whole collection of toy airplanes. They had been stored away since Linda died because they reminded Danny too much of sad times. But recently, Danny had asked Marcus to bring them out again. "Let's ask her tomorrow when we go to the library," Marcus suggested. The next day, Danny was nervous about asking Sarah to dinner. He practiced what he would say in the car on the way to the library. When they found Sarah in the children's section, Danny took a deep breath. "Sarah," he said, "would you and Emma like to come to our house for dinner? My dad can cook and I want to show you my airplane collection." Sarah looked surprised and pleased. "That sounds wonderful, Danny. Let me check with Emma and see what day works best for us." Emma was excited about the invitation too. They decided to come for dinner on Saturday evening. Danny spent the whole week planning what they would do. He wanted to show Sarah his books, his airplanes, and his room. He even asked Marcus if they could make a special dessert. On Saturday afternoon, Danny helped Marcus clean the house and prepare dinner. Marcus was nervous too, though he was not sure why. He wanted Sarah to feel welcome in their home. He wanted her to see that even though they had a lot of money, they were just a normal family. When Sarah and Emma arrived, Danny ran to the door to greet them. "You came. Come see everything." Sarah and Emma followed Danny into the living room. Marcus watched Sarah's face as she looked around. His house was very large and expensive, with artwork on the walls and fancy furniture. But Sarah did not seem uncomfortable or impressed by the wealth. She seemed more interested in the family photos on the tables. "Is this your mom?" Sarah asked Danny, picking up a photo of Linda. "Yes," Danny said softly. "Her name was Linda. She died when I was 6. Sarah looked at the photo carefully. "She was very beautiful, and I can see where you got your kind eyes." Danny smiled. He liked talking about his mom with Sarah because she never seemed sad or uncomfortable about it. "Emma," Danny said, turning to Sarah's daughter, "do you want to see my airplane collection?" Emma nodded, and Danny led both her and Sarah upstairs to his room. Marcus followed behind, curious to see how Sarah would react to Danny's treasures. Danny's room was full of model airplanes of all sizes. Some were hanging from the ceiling and others were displayed on shelves. Danny knew facts about each one and told Sarah and Emma about different types of planes and how they worked. "This is incredible, Danny," Sarah said. "You know so much about airplanes. I think you really could be a pilot someday." "Do you really think so?" Danny asked. "I really do. You have the curiosity and the dedication that pilots need." During dinner, the conversation flowed easily. Sarah told stories about working at the library and the funny things children said during story time. Emma talked about school and her friends. Danny talked about the books he was reading and his dreams of flying. Marcus found himself relaxing in a way he had not felt in years. His house felt like a home again. There was laughter and conversation around the dinner table. It reminded him of the good times when Linda was alive, but it did not make him sad. Instead, it made him hopeful. After dinner, they all sat in the living room. Danny showed Sarah more of his airplane books, and Emma helped him build a puzzle. Marcus and Sarah talked quietly while the children played. "Danny is doing so much better," Sarah said. "When I first met him at the park, he seemed so scared and sad. Now he's confident and curious. You should be proud of yourself." Marcus shook his head. "I can't take credit for the change in Danny. That's all because of you." "That's not true," Sarah said. "You're the one who brought him to the park that day. You're the one who takes him to the library and story time. You're the one who listens to him talk about airplanes every day. Danny needed someone to believe in him, and you do that." Marcus looked at his son, who was excitedly showing Emma how to make a paper airplane. "I almost sent him to a special school for children with problems. I thought I couldn't help him, but you didn't give up on him," Sarah said. "That's what matters." As the evening went on, Marcus found himself watching Sarah more than anyone else. She was kind to everyone, but she was also funny and smart. She asked thoughtful questions and really listened to the answers. She made everyone feel important and valued. When it was time for Sarah and Emma to leave, Danny hugged them both goodbye. "Can you come back soon?" he asked. "Anytime you want us to," Sarah said. "Thank you for a wonderful evening." After they left, Danny went upstairs to get ready for bed. Marcus was cleaning up the dinner dishes when Danny came back downstairs in his pajamas. "Dad," Danny said, "I really like Sarah and Emma." "I like them too, buddy." "Do you think Sarah likes us?" Marcus smiled. "I think she likes us very much." "Good," Danny said. Because I want them to be our friends forever. That night, Marcus lay in bed thinking about the evening. For the first time since Linda died, his house had felt full of life and happiness. Sarah and Emma fit so naturally into their family that it was hard to imagine them not being there. Marcus realized he was developing feelings for Sarah that went beyond gratitude for what she had done for Danny. He was attracted to her kindness, her intelligence, and her strength. But he was also scared. He had not thought about another woman since Linda died. Was it too soon? Was it fair to Linda's memory? The next week, Marcus found himself looking forward to seeing Sarah even more than usual. When they went to the library, he paid attention to everything she said. When they met at the park, he found excuses to talk to her while Danny played. One afternoon, Sarah mentioned that she was worried about Emma. She's been accepted to a special science program at the high school, but it costs money that I don't have. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. Marcus wanted to offer to pay for the program immediately, but he remembered the lesson he had learned with Sarah's car. Direct charity was not the way to help Sarah. She needed to maintain her independence and dignity. What kind of science program is it? Marcus asked. It's a program for students who want to study engineering or medicine. Emma has always been interested in science, and this program could really help her get into a good college. Marcus thought about this problem for several days. Then he had an idea. His company had a scholarship program for children of employees. But they also gave scholarships to children in the community who showed academic promise. Marcus talked to his human resources department about expanding the scholarship program. He suggested they offer scholarships to children who demonstrated both academic excellence and financial need. The program would be open to all students in the city, and selections would be made by a committee. A few weeks later, Sarah received a letter informing her that Emma had been awarded a full scholarship to the science program. Emma had earned it based on her grades and her application essay about wanting to become a doctor. When Sarah told Marcus and Danny the good news, she was so happy she almost cried. I can't believe it. Emma worked so hard for this, and now she can follow her dreams. Danny was excited too. Emma is really smart. She's going to be a great doctor. Marcus felt good about helping Emma, but he felt even better about the fact that Sarah would never know he had been involved. Emma had earned the scholarship on her own merit, and Sarah could be proud of her daughter's achievement. But the best part was seeing how happy Sarah was. Her smile was brighter than Marcus had ever seen it. Her joy was genuine and infectious. Watching her celebrate Emma's success, Marcus realized something important. He was falling in love with Sarah Chen. Not just because she had helped Danny, but because of who she was as a person. She was strong and independent, but also warm and caring. She worked hard for everything she had, but she never complained about the struggles. She put her daughter's needs before her own, but she also made time to help other people's children. Marcus had not expected to fall in love again. He thought his heart had died with Linda, but Sarah had shown him that it was possible to love again without forgetting the past. She had brought light back into his life and Danny's life. Now he just had to figure out what to do about these feelings. Because for the first time in 2 years, Marcus Whitfield was thinking about the future with hope instead of fear. 2 months had passed since Marcus first met Sarah at the park. Danny was now a confident, happy child who talked about becoming a pilot and read books every day. The change in his son was so complete that Marcus sometimes forgot how scared and silent Danny used to be. But Marcus was facing a new challenge. He was falling deeper in love with Sarah every day, and he did not know what to do about it. He looked forward to seeing her more than anything else in his week. When she smiled at him, his heart beat faster. When she talked about her dreams and goals, he wanted to be part of making them come true. The problem was that Marcus was not sure if Sarah felt the same way about him. She was always kind and friendly, but she treated him the same way she treated everyone else. Marcus had been wealthy for so long that he was used to people wanting something from him. But Sarah never asked for anything. She never even seemed to notice his expensive car or clothes. One evening, Marcus was working late in his study when Danny came in wearing his pajamas. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course, buddy. What's on your mind? Danny climbed onto the chair next to Marcus's desk. Do you like Sarah? Marcus was surprised by the question. Yes, I like Sarah very much. She's been a wonderful friend to us. No, Dad. I mean, do you like her the way you liked Mom? Marcus put down his pen and looked at his son. Danny was only 8 years old, but sometimes he seemed much older and wiser. Why do you ask that, Danny? Because you smile different when Sarah is around. And you wear your nice shirts when we go to see her. And you ask her lots of questions about her life. Marcus realized his son was very observant. Would it bother you if I liked Sarah that way? Danny thought about this question seriously. I think it would make me happy. Sarah makes you happy, and she makes me happy too. And Emma is nice. It would be like having a family again. Marcus felt his throat get tight with emotion. Danny, no one could ever replace your mom. She will always be special to us. I know that, Dad, but Mom is gone and we're still here. I think Mom would want us to be happy. Marcus hugged his son. Danny's wisdom amazed him. His 8-year-old boy understood things that Marcus was still struggling to figure out. What do you think I should do? Marcus asked. Tell Sarah how you feel, Danny said simply. That's what people do in the books when they like someone. The next day brought unexpected news that changed everything. Marcus was at work when Sarah called him. She sounded upset and worried. Marcus, I'm sorry to bother you at work, but I need to tell you something. Danny might be worried if he doesn't see me at the library this week. What's wrong? Marcus asked, immediately concerned. I have to go to court next week. Emma's grandparents, her father's parents, are trying to get custody of her. They say I can't provide for her properly because I'm a single mother without much money. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. That's ridiculous. You're a wonderful mother. I know I am, Sarah said, but her voice was shaky. But they have expensive lawyers, and I can't afford to fight them. My lawyer says I might lose Emma. There has to be something we can do, Marcus said. I don't think so. They've been planning this for months. They have documentation about my finances, my work schedule, everything. They're claiming that Emma would be better off with them because they can give her more opportunities. After Marcus hung up the phone, he sat in his office staring out the window. This was not fair. Sarah was a loving, devoted mother. Emma was happy and doing well in school. The only thing Sarah lacked was money, and money did not make someone a good parent. Marcus knew he could help. He could hire the best lawyers in the country to fight for Sarah. He could make the custody case go away with a few phone calls and a lot of money. But he also knew that Sarah would never accept that kind of help. She had already shown that she valued her independence too much to take charity from anyone. But this was different. This was about Emma's future. This was about keeping a family together. That evening, Marcus went to Sarah's apartment. It was a small, clean place in an older building. Sarah answered the door with red eyes from crying. Marcus, what are you doing here? I came to talk to you about the custody case. I want to help. Sarah shook her head. I can't ask you to get involved in my problems. You're not asking. I'm offering. Sarah, you and Emma have become important to Danny and me. We care about what happens to you. Sarah invited him in, and they sat at her small kitchen table. Emma was in her room doing homework, unaware of the legal battle that could tear her away from her mother. What exactly are Emma's grandparents claiming? Marcus asked. Sarah pulled out some legal papers. They say I work too much and can't supervise Emma properly. They say I can't afford to give her the things she needs for her education. They say she would have more stability with them. Marcus read through the papers. The grandparents had hired investigators to document everything about Sarah's life. They knew how much money she made, what hours she worked, what Emma did after school. It was invasive and cruel. Sarah, Marcus said carefully, I want to help you fight this. I can hire lawyers, investigators, whatever you need. I can't let you do that, Sarah said. That would cost thousands of dollars. I could never pay you back. I don't want you to pay me back. I want to help because I care about you and Emma. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. Marcus, can I ask you something? What do you do for work? I know you have money, but I've never asked how much. Marcus realized that Sarah had no idea how wealthy he was. She knew he had a nice car and a big house, but she probably thought he was just comfortable, not extremely rich. I own a technology company, Marcus said. It's fairly successful. How successful? Marcus hesitated. Very successful. Sarah, money is not a problem for me. Helping you fight this custody case would not be a financial burden at all. Sarah looked at him with new understanding. How successful is very successful? Successful enough that I could hire the best lawyers in the country and not think twice about the cost. Sarah put her head in her hands. I don't know what to do. I can't lose Emma, but I can't accept such a huge favor from you either. Why not? Because what if Emma and I lose you too? What if you decide we're too much trouble? What if you get tired of helping people who can't help themselves? I can't put Emma through another loss. Marcus reached across the table and took Sarah's hands. Sarah, look at me. You and Emma are not charity cases to me. You're not people I'm helping out of pity or obligation. Danny loves you both. And I... Marcus stopped, realizing he was about to say something he had not planned to say. You what? Sarah asked softly. I love you, Marcus said. I'm in love with you, Sarah. I want to help you because I want you and Emma in my life forever. I want us to be a family. Sarah stared at him in shock. Marcus, I know this is complicated. I know the timing is terrible with the custody case. But I needed you to know that helping you is not charity. It's love. Sarah was crying now, but they were different tears than before. I love you too, she whispered. I've been trying not to because I was scared. Scared that someone like you could never really want someone like me. Someone like me? Rich, successful, important. I'm just a librarian, Marcus. I drive an old car and live in a small apartment. I shop at thrift stores and clip coupons. We're from different worlds. Marcus moved his chair closer to hers. Sarah, you've given me and Danny more than anyone ever has. You've given us hope and happiness and love. You've shown me what really matters in life. If we're from different worlds, then I want to live in yours. They held each other and cried together. Finally, Sarah pulled back and looked at Marcus. If you really want to help me fight for Emma, I'll accept your help. Not because I'm taking charity, but because we're going to be a family and families help each other. We're going to be a family? Marcus asked with a smile. If you want us. I've wanted that since the day I met you at the park. Emma came out of her room to get a glass of water and found her mother and Marcus holding hands at the kitchen table. Mom, are you okay? You look like you've been crying. Sarah smiled at her daughter. I'm okay, sweetheart. Actually, I'm better than okay. Marcus is going to help us with the court case, and we have some other news to share with you too. Emma looked curious. What news? Marcus and Sarah looked at each other and smiled. They had a lot to figure out, but they would figure it out together. For the first time since the custody battle started, Sarah felt hope instead of fear. And for the first time since Linda died, Marcus felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The next morning, Marcus called the best family law attorney in the city. Within 2 hours, he had assembled a legal team to fight for Sarah's custody rights. The lawyers assured him that Sarah had an excellent chance of keeping Emma, especially with proper legal representation. But Emma's grandparents were not giving up easily. When they learned that Sarah had hired expensive lawyers, they fought back harder. They claimed that Sarah was being financially supported by a man she barely knew, which showed poor judgment and instability. The case became complicated and ugly. Newspaper reporters somehow found out about the custody battle and wrote stories about the billionaire's new girlfriend and her gold-digging attempt to use Marcus's money to keep her daughter. Sarah was devastated by the negative publicity. She had never wanted her private life to become public entertainment. Worse, she worried that the negative stories might actually hurt her case in court. Maybe I should tell you to stop helping me, Sarah said one evening as they sat in her apartment reading the latest newspaper article. This is getting out of control. Don't you dare, Marcus said firmly. These people are trying to scare you into giving up. That's exactly what Emma's grandparents want. Emma, who was now 13 and understood what was happening, had been reading the articles too. Mom, the newspaper people don't know anything about us. They don't know that you read to me every night when I was little. They don't know that you worked 2 jobs to pay for my piano lessons. They don't know that you never missed a school event, even when you were sick. Sarah hugged her daughter. Emma was being braver than any 13-year-old should have to be. Danny, who had been following the court case closely, had his own opinion about the situation. Dad, why don't we just tell everyone how wonderful Sarah is? Why don't we tell them about all the kids she helps at the library? Why don't we tell them how she helped me when I was scared? Marcus realized his son had a good point. Instead of just defending against attacks, maybe they should go on the offensive. They should show the world who Sarah really was. Marcus called a press conference. This was unusual for him because he normally avoided publicity. But this time, he wanted to speak publicly about Sarah and her character. At the press conference, Marcus stood in front of television cameras and newspaper reporters. Sarah was by his side, nervous but determined to fight for her daughter. I want to tell you about the woman I love, Marcus began. Her name is Sarah Chen, and she is the most selfless, caring person I have ever met. She works at our local library, where she helps children learn to read and love books. She volunteers her time to do story hours for children every weekend. She has helped my son overcome difficulties that the most expensive therapist could not solve. Marcus continued. Sarah has never asked me for money or favors. She has never tried to use my wealth for her own benefit. When her car broke down, she found extra work to pay for repairs rather than accepting help. When her daughter needed money for a school program, Sarah applied for scholarships and grants. This is a woman who believes in earning what she has and working for what she wants. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Whitfield, critics say that Ms. Chen is using your relationship to gain an advantage in this custody case. Marcus's eyes flashed with anger. The only advantage Sarah has gained from our relationship is having someone who believes in her and supports her, which is what everyone deserves. Emma's grandparents are trying to take a child away from a loving mother simply because they have more money. That is not justice. Sarah stepped forward to the microphone. I want to say something too. I have been a single mother for 3 years, since my husband died in a plane crash. During that time, I have worked hard to provide for Emma and to be the best mother I can be. Emma is happy, healthy, and doing well in school. She has friends and activities and dreams for her future. Taking her away from the only parent she has left would be traumatic and wrong. After the press conference, public opinion began to shift. Letters poured into the local newspaper supporting Sarah. Parents who knew her from the library wrote about how she had helped their children. Teachers from Emma's school testified about what a good student and person Emma was. But the most powerful support came from an unexpected source. Danny asked if he could speak at the court hearing. Dad, I want to tell the judge how Sarah helped me. I want to tell everyone what a good person she is. Marcus was not sure if this was a good idea. Danny was only 8 years old and speaking in court could be scary. But Danny was determined. I'm not afraid anymore, Dad. Sarah taught me to be brave. On the day of the court hearing, the courtroom was packed with people supporting Sarah. Library patrons, parents from Storytime, Emma's teachers, and even children who had participated in Sarah's reading programs. When it was time for Danny to speak, he walked to the front of the courtroom holding his red airplane. He was nervous, but he was not afraid. My name is Danny Whitfield, he said in a clear voice. I want to tell you about my friend Sarah. Danny told the judge about how scared and sad he had been after his mother died. He explained how Sarah had talked to him about airplanes and helped him feel brave again. Sarah didn't have to be nice to me, Danny said. She didn't know who I was or that my dad had money. She was nice to me because that's who she is. She helps kids because she cares about them. Danny looked at Emma, who was sitting with her mother. Emma is lucky to have Sarah as her mom. If someone tried to take me away from my dad, I would be scared and sad. Emma shouldn't have to be scared and sad when she has a mom who loves her. When Danny finished speaking, there was not a dry eye in the courtroom. Even the judge looked moved by the 8-year-old's words. Emma's grandparents' lawyer tried to argue that emotional testimony should not override practical concerns about financial stability. But it was clear that the case had turned in Sarah's favor. The judge took a short recess to consider his decision. During the break, Sarah hugged Danny. Thank you for being so brave, she told him. That was the most courageous thing I've ever seen. I learned to be brave from you, Danny said. When the judge returned, his decision was swift and clear. This court finds that Emma Chen is thriving in her mother's care. Ms. Chen has provided a stable, loving home for her daughter. While financial resources are important, they are not the only measure of a parent's ability to care for a child. The emotional bond between Emma and her mother is strong and healthy. The request for custody change is denied. Sarah burst into tears of relief. Emma hugged her mother tightly. Marcus put his arms around both of them, and Danny joined the family hug. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked Marcus about his plans for the future with Sarah. Sarah and I are planning to build a life together, Marcus said. We want to combine our families and create something beautiful for our children. A reporter asked Sarah, what are your feelings about joining one of the city's wealthiest families? Sarah smiled. I'm not joining a wealthy family. I'm joining a loving family. The money is nice, but the love is what matters. That evening, the four of them, Marcus, Sarah, Danny, and Emma, had dinner together to celebrate. They talked about their plans for the future and what their new family would look like. Can we get married soon? Danny asked. I want Sarah and Emma to live with us. Marcus and Sarah looked at each other and laughed. I think that can be arranged, Marcus said. But first, Sarah said, we need to talk about some important things. Marcus, your life is going to change if you marry me. I come with responsibilities and opinions and a teenage daughter who will need guidance. My life already changed the day I met you, Marcus said. It changed for the better. Emma, who had been quiet during most of the celebration, finally spoke up. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for believing that we deserve to be happy. Marcus looked around the table at his new family. 6 months ago, he had been a lonely man struggling to connect with his scared son. Now he was surrounded by love and laughter and hope for the future. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Marcus had found love in a public park while watching his son feed ducks. He had found family in a library where stories came to life. He had found happiness in the simple act of caring about someone else's well-being. The custody battle was over, but their real life together was just beginning. 6 months after the court case, Marcus and Sarah were married in a small ceremony at the public park where they first met. Danny was the ring bearer and Emma was the maid of honor. The wedding was simple but perfect, surrounded by family and the friends they had made along their journey. Instead of an expensive honeymoon, Marcus and Sarah decided to spend their first week as a married couple moving Sarah and Emma into Marcus's house. But they quickly realized the house needed to feel like home for everyone, not just Marcus and Danny. This house is beautiful, Sarah said as they unpacked Emma's books. But it feels like a museum. It needs more life, more warmth, Marcus agreed completely. Let's change whatever you want to change. I want this to feel like our home, not just my house. They spent the next month redecorating together. Sarah brought color and comfort to the formal rooms. Emma added her artwork and science projects to the walls. Danny finally felt comfortable having friends over because the house felt welcoming instead of intimidating. But the biggest change in their lives was not the house or the wedding. It was what Marcus and Sarah decided to do with their combined resources and passion. One evening, as they sat together planning their future, Sarah brought up an idea she had been thinking about for weeks. Marcus, I've been wondering about something. You have so much money and I have so much experience working with children and families. What if we used both to help other people? What do you mean? I see families at the library every day who are struggling. Single parents who work multiple jobs and still can't afford books for their children. Kids who need help with reading but can't afford tutoring. What if we started a foundation to help families like that? Marcus loved the idea immediately. Tell me more. Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement. We could create programs that really help people. Not just giving money, but giving opportunities. Reading programs, after-school care, job training for parents, scholarships for kids. And we could focus on helping people in ways that preserve their dignity, Marcus added, thinking about his experience helping Sarah with her car and Emma's scholarship. Over the next few months, Marcus and Sarah worked together to create the Whitfield Chen Family Foundation. Marcus provided the financial resources, while Sarah brought her understanding of what families actually needed. Their first project was expanding the library's programs. They funded new computers, more books, and extended hours so working parents could bring their children after school. Sarah quit her old job to run the foundation's programs full-time, but she kept volunteering at the library because she loved storytime too much to give it up. Danny and Emma became the foundation's unofficial ambassadors. Danny, now confident and outgoing, loved meeting other children and telling them about books and airplanes. Emma, who was excelling in her science program, started tutoring younger students who needed help with math and science. The foundation's second major project was creating community centers in neighborhoods that needed them most. These centers offered after-school programs, job training for adults, and safe spaces for families to gather. But their most ambitious project was building new libraries in areas that did not have them. Marcus and Sarah believed that every child should have access to books and learning opportunities, regardless of their family's income. Books saved my life, Sarah told Marcus one day as they visited the construction site of their third new library. When I was Emma's age and my family didn't have much money, the library was where I went to dream about the future. I want every child to have that same opportunity. The new libraries were not just places to borrow books. They included computer labs, study spaces, and meeting rooms for community events. Each library also had a dedicated children's area where volunteers could read stories and help kids with homework. Danny insisted that every new library should have a special display about the history of flight, complete with model airplanes and books about famous pilots. Kids need to know they can dream big, he said. A year after their wedding, Marcus made a decision that surprised many people in the business world. He stepped back from the day-to-day operations of his technology company to focus full-time on the foundation. "Are you sure about this?" his business partner James asked. "You're giving up millions of dollars to run a charity." "I'm not giving up anything," Marcus said. "I'm gaining everything that matters. I'm spending my time on work that makes a difference. I'm working alongside the woman I love. I'm showing my son that success is not just about making money." Sarah supported Marcus's decision completely, but she also made sure he understood what he was choosing. "Running a foundation is different from running a business," she warned him. "Progress is slower, problems are more complicated, and success is harder to measure. Are you ready for that?" "I'm ready for anything as long as we're doing it together," Marcus said. The foundation grew quickly, but Marcus and Sarah were careful to keep their focus on quality rather than quantity. They wanted to create programs that really worked, not just programs that sounded good in press releases. One of their most successful programs was called Reading Buddies. Older students were paired with younger children who needed help with reading. Emma started this program by working with kids at the library, and it grew into something much bigger. Danny became one of the program's biggest supporters. At age 9, he was reading to kindergarten students and helping them pick out books about airplanes and adventures. Watching his son help other children gave Marcus more pride than any business deal ever had. "Dad," Danny said one evening after a particularly good day at the library, "I think I still want to be a pilot when I grow up. But I also want to help kids learn to read." "You can do both," Marcus said. "You can do anything you want to do." 2 years after starting the foundation, Marcus and Sarah received an invitation that touched them deeply. The city wanted to honor them with an award for their community service. But what made the invitation special was who had nominated them. It was a group of children. From their reading programs, the children had written letters to the city council, explaining how the foundation had helped them and their families. One letter from a 7-year-old girl named Maria said, "Mr. Marcus and Ms. Sarah taught me that reading is like flying. When I read books, I can go anywhere and be anyone. Thank you for helping me learn to fly." At the award ceremony, Danny was invited to speak about the foundation. He stood at the podium in front of hundreds of people, holding the same red airplane that had brought his family together. "3 years ago, I was scared of everything," Danny said. "I was scared of school, scared of other kids, scared of trying new things. Then my dad took me to a park and I met Sarah. She taught me that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do important things even when you're scared." Danny held up his airplane. "This airplane is special to me because my mom gave it to me before she died. But it became even more special when Sarah helped me understand what it really means. Flying is about having dreams and working hard to make them come true. The foundation helps other kids learn to fly too, just in different ways." The audience gave Danny a standing ovation. Marcus and Sarah both had tears in their eyes as they watched their brave son inspire a room full of adults. After the ceremony, as they drove home together as a family, Emma made an announcement. "I've decided what I want to study in college," she said. "I want to study education and library science. I want to help start more programs like ours in other cities." Sarah smiled at her daughter. "That sounds like a wonderful plan. And I want to learn to fly airplanes too," Emma added. "Danny has convinced me that everyone should know how to fly." Danny grinned. "I can teach you everything I know about airplanes. And when we're both old enough, we can take flying lessons together." Marcus looked in the rearview mirror at Emma and Danny, who were planning their future adventures. Then he looked at Sarah, who was smiling as she listened to the children's excitement. "What are you thinking about?" Sarah asked him. "I'm thinking about how different our lives are now compared to 3 years ago. Danny was scared and alone. I was lost and didn't know how to help him. You were struggling to make ends meet and worried about Emma's future. And now Danny is confident and kind, helping other children learn to love reading. Emma is excelling in school and has opportunities we never dreamed of. You're using your talents to help families all over the city, and I'm doing work that actually matters instead of just making money." Sarah reached over and took Marcus's hand. "We're all doing work that matters. We're being a family." That night, after Danny and Emma had gone to bed, Marcus and Sarah sat on their back porch looking up at the stars. The house was quiet, but it was the comfortable quiet of a home filled with love and happiness. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Sarah asked. "The business world, the excitement of big deals, the recognition?" Marcus thought about the question seriously. "I miss some parts of it. I miss the challenge of solving complex problems. But I've learned that the most complex problem I ever faced was figuring out how to be a good father to Danny. And the most important deal I ever made was convincing you to marry me." Sarah laughed. "You didn't have to convince me very hard.